Welcome everybody to the GuzCast, where our goal is to recover the lost art of manhood, one episode at a time. I am your host, Tim Guzman. Where has this show been for the last 3 months? Well, we're about to get to it. We have a lot to explain. But before we do, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you're not already, and please ring the notification bell so you never miss one of our episodes. We have a lot to do, a lot to discuss. So last time I left you guys, go back and watch that episode if you haven't already. But last time I left you guys, I kind of left you hanging because I didn't have a job. We had something that was an opportunity, but it wasn't set in stone yet. Now, here's the update. I got the job. The job that I've been praying for, the job that I love, the job that I'm good at, that I think that God prepared me for. It was actually a previous company that I worked for, and they ended up offering me a job. Now, here's the thing. The reason why we've been gone for so long is because I moved from my town, from my hometown of Ada, Oklahoma. I left there, and I moved to Texas. I'm sorry, Oklahomans. Don't burn me at the stake. But I left for a job opportunity. And that's kind of the predicament that we want to talk about on this episode is we prayed for a job, we got the job, but God had the job in another area, which wasn't exactly what we want. Now, granted, he kind of set everything else up for us. That's God's grace for you, but he gave us a job that, you know, our church had ties to, the area that it was in, our church had ties to, so we kind of transferred to a church that had similar values, similar theology, but that was the huge thing, is that we were taking a big step in faith. This is the opportunity that God gave us. This is the job opportunity that God gave us, and I had to step in it. Now, there was a opportunity for me to not take this job and still stay in Ada, Oklahoma, but if I did that plan was like to live in my brother-in-law's trailer home and sell my house and move my kids into that and not pay them rent like until I could find something. I don't feel like I would be a good steward of the family that I have, building a inheritance for my kids if I would have done that. So I truly think this is the route God wanted us to take. Now, this whole predicament kind of got me thinking, because I think there's a big conversation to have around when God doesn't really grant you the answer that you want. He gave us the answer we wanted, but it was more of like a half answer. So we got the job, but it was like way over here. Now, again, we're 2.5 hours away from our family. So it's not like we moved across the state across the country or anything like that. But still, it's a different thing. I've owned a home ever since, I don't know, 8 years, I think, 10 years. Almost as long as we've been married. So almost 10 years. And it's a different thing going and like being independent, where you have no social fabric and no ties to family or friends. It's totally weird, totally different level of responsibility. I was responsible for my family then, but now, like, if we break down or if something happens, I'm truly responsible. And there's really no help I can grab that can make it within, like, my brother was 2 blocks away from me. So it's weird here. I do like it because my family's here. My family is here. So that I love. But would I like it more if my, extended family was here? Definitely. But it was definitely something that was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do. I had to uproot my family, take my kids who had cousins. I have like 20-something nieces and nephews. It's insane. So my kids have a plethora of cousins that they had to say goodbye to. My wife and my church, we all had friends there. We had to say goodbye to that. My sister, my brothers, my mom and dad, her family. It was crazy. Now, again, not the ideal answer that we wanted, but that's what I wanted to talk about. But before I do, please follow us on social medias, Twitter, Facebook. We also have an email, theguzcast@gmail.com. Email us questions, email us anything, really. Also, we are not a sponsor. That's coming, though. We're going to get sponsors eventually. But we are an affiliate of Covenant Eyes. If you use code GC30, that will actually give you 30 days free of the service. If you don't have an accountability software on your devices, that is a must, especially if you're a man. Do it now. Do it. Now, how do we respond when God doesn't give us the answer that we want, or maybe we have to go through a hardship to do whatever that he wants us to do? It kind of got me thinking about different examples in the Bible that we can kind of pull out and try and emulate. One of them is Paul. He writes in 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong." So that is right after he was just saying, God, please take these thorns from my side. He asked 3 times to do it, and God's response was, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Now, I know that that's a different kind of thorns, but later on he mentions weaknesses, insults, hardships. And that is kind of the mindset I wanted to have. Now, did I have it? Probably not, but I wanted to have the mindset of God's grace is sufficient for me. That is all that I need. If I go to this place, there's a ton of unanswered questions, but that question is answered. So I think at the end of the day, step one would just to be obey, especially if you really think God is pushing you towards a direction that he wants you to go down. Obey that command, because his grace is sufficient for you, regardless of what hardships, calamities, insults, persecutions are coming your way. That's the intent I had walking into this move. We actually moved about 3 weeks ago, coming up on a month, and it's been a smooth ride so far. I mean, I moved like 3 times, so it's actually very smooth, but it's literally the fact of leaving family in a new city, in a new town, a job that I know, but in a different area, in a different hospital. I manage a service in a hospital. But that type of hardship, my goal was to have that mindset. Now, was it difficult? Heck yes. It was definitely difficult. And again, you just have to lay it before Christ. That's kind of what I had to do for a long time, because there was a couple of points where, it was like, did I make the right decision? And the answer to myself at that point was, doesn't matter if it was the right decision or not, you're here now. So this is what you got to do. But I truly think that God, whenever we're in hardships, if we just cling to, we would be totally fine. Now, the other thing that really helped me in this whole deal, again, comment below if you have more advice for guys who are going through similar things, but is to have faith, or maybe a better word that has similarities to faith would be confidence. Confident in your Lord. If you have confidence, if you have faith in a bridge that holds you up, you will have no problem walking across, right? So you're not going to be fearful. You're not going to be, inching your way across the bridge. If you fully trust that bridge, have faith that that bridge is going to do the job that it's supposed to do, then you're going to walk across it without even thinking about it. So having the confidence, the faith in Christ that he is going to do the work that he set out to do in you and in your area through you is a necessity. And the few things that I can think from the word is all the different healings that Jesus did, the centurion man, the blind man, those guys just had faith that Jesus could do it if they could just get to him. Or the guy that just said, hey, just say the words and my guy will be healed. They truly believed it. They truly believed that he was going to heal them, and he was amazed at their faith, and he healed them. So I would hope that, and it was very difficult, but I wanted to trust that God had this under control, and he does have it under control. Obviously, he is, keeping us afloat. I can't tell you how many things that God put together that made this all work. So I think I mentioned in the last video, but if I didn't, the house that we had to sell. So all of a sudden we found out we had to sell our house. It had 4 offers in 3 weeks, and they were almost all of them except for one were asking price. And we had 2 at the same time, and we were able to look at which offer was better, and we were able to choose from there. Like that's very rare, especially in today's economy. We were able to sell our house and list it for 3 weeks, and it's not in a very great town. Let's just put it that way. Like there's hardly anybody that's like, yes, I want to go to that town. It's amazing. Not Ada. It's another town that's near it. But he lined up a church for us. The asking price that I had to have from this job was met. There was a bonus that involved for relocation that we got to help with relocation, so we would be able to pay bills and pay for the move. Like everything came together. It was insane. Not to mention the job. He kind of like cornered me into this job because everybody else said no. I don't know. I have actually probably a decent looking resume, and I think that since I don't have a bachelor's degree, I most likely didn't get a lot of the jobs that I applied for. But this job requires a master's or wants a master's, and I have the job. So God literally put it all together and set it off. The last thing that really confirmed for me that this is what we're going to do, and it gave me trust, confidence, faith, and allowed me to obey, is knowing that the mission didn't change. That my mission of loving Christ, loving family, loving the church, and loving the lost, and proclaiming his gospel is not going to change no matter where I am. And that's true for everybody. It doesn't matter where you are, in a jail cell like Paul was, in Texas, or another country altogether, you have the same mission. It doesn't change. Now, you might apply it differently and do things differently to accomplish the mission, but ultimately it stays the same. And it gave me a lot of assurance and confidence that, I can do this, and it's not going to be any different than what I'm leaving. In fact, it might give me more opportunity. That might be something that God's doing. I have no idea. He might be giving me more opportunity to preach the gospel. He might be giving me more opportunity to disciple some of the church or get discipled by his church. So that alone, I think, is enough for me, and I hope it's enough for you guys. And again, there's going to be a lot of things that we can discuss still. I might video in some of my brothers that you guys love so much. But truly, comment your experience with stepping out, in trust for God, and a decision that you had to make. Or maybe you had a very hard decision or had a very hard time, a hardship that you were going through. And these were the things that you did to help with the decision-making progress, to help your faith, and to grow you towards Christ, or how God grew you towards him and renewed your mind. So I appreciate it. I think in conclusion, respond to God with obedience. Trust and have confidence in his work, and always proclaim the gospel no matter where you are, because that is the true mission. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you guys have a good week. We'll see you next Monday, and have a good one. Thank you guys for watching the whole video. I appreciate it very much. Let me give you a statement that you guys can talk about in the comment section. Maybe a little debate, a little discussion happening. My statement is, porn is bad for the mind, body, and soul. Prove me wrong.